I am not a historian, but neither are you, so how about we the people learn this stuff together? Welcome to US 101. And if you asked me how to sum up this week's episode in 2 words, I would probably have to say cosmic cuisine. Space, the final frontier. Out there, guys, nothing is what it seems. Up is down, black is white, gravity is some sort of construct, and sandwiches cause controversy. So let's take you guys back to the early days of American space exploration, when a young National Aeronautics and Space Administration was testing the limits as to what American astronauts could and could not do once they slipped the surly bonds of Earth. And that's all due to the fact that the Soviet Union launched the satellite Sputnik 1 in 1957, and Americans started to worry about this satellite floating over them because they thought, well, if the Soviets can launch this satellite into space, what are their capabilities now? Can they spy on us? Or worse, if they can launch a satellite into space, can they launch something even deadlier? The United States naturally had to respond. And so America did. In 1958, the United States launches its own satellite into space, Explorer 1. And over the years, America and the USSR basically go back and forth between each other to find out who can top who when it comes to space exploration and which country can maintain the most space cred. For example, when the Soviets launched the first man into space, Yuri Gagarin, in April of 1961, the United States fired back by shooting Alan Shepard up into the universe 1 month later. And then later that year, President Kennedy announces that American astronauts would be the first ones to make it all the way to the moon. And then in 1962, John Glenn becomes the first American astronaut to orbit the Earth. And then on top of all of this, plans are starting to be put into place to land an astronaut on the moon, and that program would later be known as the Apollo program. But before we got to Neil Armstrong taking one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind, NASA and American space exploration got into a ton of trouble because of a sandwich. It's 1965, and the Soviets have just launched the first ever 2-person mission into outer space. So naturally, the United States had to step up and represent with its own 2-person team. Enter John Young and Gus Grissom. These 2 astronauts right here would board Gemini 3 for only a 6-hour mission into outer space. Not a very long mission, but it wasn't just to show the Soviets that, they could go matchy-matchy. Anything you can do, I can do better. It was also to test out a couple things in space. One of those things specifically being tasting specially prepared food that can be eaten while in outer space. Now today in 2018, that sounds kind of like a waste of time and probably also a huge waste of money. But you have to remember, in the 1960s, space exploration is still a brand new thing. So shooting yourself into outer space to try out specially designed and specially packaged space food was really, really important. NASA needed to know how astronauts were going to keep themselves fed and hydrated while in zero gravity. Because you have to remember, guys, you can't eat food and you can't drink drinks up in space the way that we do down here on Earth, where there is much more gravity. Up there, if they were to take like a regular chocolate bar, or regular food, or regular drink, and just drink it the way we do down here, the food or the drink could just splatter throughout the cabin. Some of that food and drink might get into the circuitry of the spacecraft. The spacecraft could malfunction. Those astronauts could die because of crumbs. But astronaut John Young did not get that memo when he boarded Gemini 3. Because inside the pocket of Young's spacesuit was an unapproved corned beef sandwich that was bought 2 days prior before the mission at Wolfie's Restaurant and Sandwich Shop at a Ramada Inn in Cocoa Beach, Florida.
I did!
For those of you that don't know what a corned beef sandwich is, allow me to invite my special guest for this week's episode, Mr. Betts of Mr. Betts Class, to demonstrate his culinary prowess for you by putting together the perfect corned beef sandwich.
Hey guys, Mr. Betts here. Let's make a sandwich fit for an astronaut. First, let's take our roll, our hero roll, our submarine roll, our torpedo roll. You're gonna have to throw that in the oven. You don't toast your roll, you messed up to start with. Woo! Hot! Hot! Okay, hot. Not done yet though. Crema Mexicana. Alright, base is ready. Boom! We are talking about a corned beef sandwich, so let's have a little bit of corned beef. I'm not the biggest corned beef fan. We're just gonna have one slab, okay? Boom, down there, okay? Roast beef, a must. Look at that. Look at the sides. Oh, that's good. Oh, put that right on there. Let's get A little bit of white meat on this sandwich. Get some real chicken breast in there. We have to make this healthy. So, get a tomato. We're looking pretty good so far. Let's get us some pepperoni. There we go. Now, we kind of are veering towards the unhealthy side again. So, let's just throw in some random leafy greens. And the piece de la resistance. Some fresh bacon. Now that is a sandwich fit for an astronaut.
So Gemini 3 takes off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. It launches perfectly into outer space, and during the mission, Young proceeds to pull out the sandwich from the pocket of his spacesuit, and the following exchange actually took place between the astronauts Young and Grissom.
What is it?
Corned beef sandwich.
Where did that come from?
I brought it with me. Let's see how it tastes. Smells, doesn't it?
Yes, it's breaking up. I'm gonna stick it in my pocket.
Is it? It was a thought. Anyway,
Yep.
not a very good one.
Pretty good, though, if we just hold together.
Want some chicken leg?
No, you can handle that.
Now that whole exchange lasted for less than a minute, and Grissom put the sandwich in his pocket because it started breaking up and crumbs started floating throughout the cabin. Now to you and I, that exchange is probably something that we really wouldn't care about, but to NASA and to Congress, that was an exchange they cared a great deal about. According to Young, in his memoir, Forever Young, he recalled that, quote, a couple of congressmen became upset, thinking that by smuggling the sandwich and eating part of it, Gus and I ignored the actual space food that we were up there to evaluate, costing the country millions of dollars. In fact, one congressman even called it a, quote, $30 million sandwich, end quote, during a review of the incident by the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations. Yeah, that's right, guys. In 1965, the House of Representatives got together to discuss a sandwich that was eaten in space, because clearly in the 1960s, there was nothing else that Congress needed to worry about. In the end, NASA issued a formal apology and promised that no corned beef sandwiches, or any other unapproved food for that matter, would ever make it into outer space again. But don't worry, guys, this story actually does have a happy ending, because in 1981, during a mission into outer space that was led by John Young, NASA sent up with him an approved portion of corned beef. And that is it for this episode of US 101, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. Really do appreciate it. And I must give a special shout out to Mr. Betts of Mr. Betts Class for taking time to appear in this video. Thank you, sir. I sincerely appreciate it. Guys, if you've not checked out his channel yet, please do so. It's absolutely amazing. And make sure to check out his video that just came out this week about the adventures of Space Bat. You won't want to miss it. It's hilarious. Thanks to all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel. Thank you for supporting the channel and helping us to grow week by week. Thanks to all of you that have been watching the videos, liking them, sharing them, leaving comments. I can't thank you enough for that. You can follow US 101 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all those links down below in the description box. Guys, I'll see you next week for an all-new episode of US 101. Until then, I am all done. What food would you want to take up with you into space? I would take up just like mashed potatoes and fried chicken cutlets, and ton of ice cream. Oh, I know the ice cream. Oh.